Good morning. I see a lot of smiles out there. I think some of it may have to do with the turn in the weather. Hope everything is going well with that. I didn't hear coming down here it's supposed to rain again this weekend. What's that? Well, we're going to go ahead and get started today. We have a very jam-packed program, partially because some of the technology didn't quite work at last program, so we're going to push it back into this one, but I do have just a few housekeeping things. The first thing we do, as always, I would like anybody who has not yet been introduced at a staff or all staff meeting, please stand up if you're new, and we'll have you introduce yourself. And what I want you to do is tell us who you are, where you work, and where you are coming from immediately prior to this. And the tables are a little tight today, so I'm going to have people reach.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Joe Fernander. I work in the office of the registrar, and I'm the new assistant registrar for graduation. Most recently, I come from Georgia State University, where I was the senior registration specialist. That's also where I graduated.
Hello, my name is Ingrid Richardson. I am in the counseling department, and prior to this, I've been in private practice doing counseling for 10 years.
Hello, my name is Bonjea. I also work in the counseling department. Before this, I was in Seattle and community mental health. Good morning, my name is Denise Ukko, and I work in the financial aid department, and prior to this, I was at Chattahoochee Technical College.
Hello, I'm Mary Beth Rose. I'm with the counseling department, and prior to this, I was with La Traferrion Square, and I have left James there.
Awesome, great. Well, welcome to all of you, and good to have you working with us. Just a couple of things. We are in the home stretch. How many weeks till graduation, Donna? 3.5 weeks. 3 weeks till graduation, because graduation's on Thursday, right? Yeah. Okay, Jennifer. No. She said, just send me home. You do not get out of it that easy. Sorry. That's not. Engage West results should be coming this week. Beginning of next week. So in your departments, you have your own plans and actions and those kind of things. There is a process for us to roll these out in the departments and also at the division level, at the university level. The beginning of that actually starts next week, next Thursday. President's going to turn the university results around for his kind of university, state of the university and Engage West next Thursday. There are 2 sessions for that, so make sure that you get involved and attend one of those. Our division all-staff meeting on May 17th then will be where I actually do a presentation about our results division-wide, and then right after that is when I will work with the extended leadership and do kind of our rollout for the division to the extended leadership team. So we'll get general information in the all-staff meeting on the 17th, and then go into an actual rollout with the extended leadership team, and then that will then kind of pepper our understanding of how that works going out into the division. We have kind of I guess it's official, but we have to be completely rolled out with action plans by the end of June. So that gives us quite a bit of time to be able to do this, and so you should be seeing that happening within your division. I know some of your departments do some more extended, some do a little less extended, but a rollout is required, so you'll be seeing that very shortly. We do also, just for a general announcement, we have expanded leadership team next week, the 19th. Many of you were involved in the NASPA review, where we had consultants come in and do a complete soup to nuts review of our division in lots of different areas, from NASPA, which is the National Association of Student Personnel Administrators, NASPA Advisory Services. Richard and Ellen, if you remember when they were here on campus, well, they're going to be coming back to us in our expanded leadership team next Thursday and doing the review. It's actually going to be kind of a Skype-like thing. Anybody heard of Zoom? Zoom is a technology. They use Zoom, and so they're going to be zooming into us. Who's zooming who? Remember that from the 80s? Come on, people. Okay. And then remember that that very night, I'm sorry, the 17th, I think it's been up here, the Student Achievement Awards are on the 17th in the evening. It is worthwhile, even if you're not involved in that in some way, it's worthwhile to come and see that. It is a fantastic night. We do a great job of our programming. It's a very collaborative programming model with lots of departments in our division and really across the university. And then those are the student awards. And there are some faculty staff awards that happen during that night too. And it is just extremely well done. So if you want to see students at their best, and you want to see our departments at our best in our programming, come that night, the Student Achievement Awards. And then just a reminder, we do have a candidate on campus today for the CAS, Center for Academic Success Director position. We finalized, or we finished the interviews, I guess I should say, for the Director of Career Services last week. And so we are getting some of those positions and going to have them filled. So that's good. It shows the continued progress in our division, and glad to have that done. Without any further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Jessie, I think. Am I handing it over to you, or am I just announcing directly? Okay, she's down.
Hi, good morning, and I'm killing time because all I'm here to do is introduce the Counseling Center for their department spotlight. So I'm passing it off to Dr. Lisa Adams. You're right. There you go, Lisa.
Good morning. Hello. So our staff is coming up, and I'm going to have everybody introduce themselves while we're loading our technology. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk about what we do in the Counseling Center. It's not something that people know a lot about sometimes. Some of you may know lots about it, so just relax and enjoy the ride. I'm going to start with Jeff because he's first. So,
Hi, my name is Jeff. I'm the clinical coordinator for the Counseling Center. I've been here for a year and a half.
My name is Joe Etheridge, and I'm the front office manager for the Counseling Center.
Hello again. My name is Dante, and I was brought on to focus on sexual assault at the Counseling Center.
Again, my name is Ingrid Richardson, and I have been here 8 days.
I'm Helen Purcell. I'm the budget manager.
My name is Maggie Tennant, and I'm the Associate Director of the Counseling Center, overseeing the clinical side as well as accessibility services.
My name is Terry Ducker. I'm the Outreach Coordinator / Counselor. And follow us, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or Pinterest, at UWG Counseling.
And it would be worth your while to do that because she won't stop asking. I'm Bill Tidwell. I am primarily an accessibility services counselor, but I do some personal counseling as well.
Good morning. I'm John Freeberg. I've been here since time immemorial, almost 28 years. I am the Assistant Director for Training and a regular counselor.
I'm Mary Beth Gross. I'm administrative support in the front office.
I'm Crystal Johnson. I'm the facilitator for the Substance Solutions, and I'm also a therapist.
I'm Chris Reyes. I'm a counselor, and I work with athletics, and I've been here 7 years.
I'm Maritza Vitale, and I work in accessibility services and also do personal counseling, and I've been here a really long time.
I'm Chris Childress. I'm the Captioning Coordinator in Accessibility Services.
Rick Lefevre, I work with Caption.
And I'm Cassie Manley, I'm a counselor, and my concentration is diverse populations. So, I guess you guys can be free. I don't really know. I'm gonna get started with the presentation. Do you want them to stay here? Okay, cool. Hang out, guys. It'll be great. So, the Counseling Center. Yeah, oh, yeah, we're gonna get on, okay, I'll be on the stage. So, we're located in Rao Hall. Yeah, guys. God, they want to see about the counseling center. So we're located in Rao Hall. Counseling is one of those things that everybody kind of thinks that they know what that is, right? Like, I know what counseling is. I don't need these people to tell me. Okay. Well, let's just investigate, all right? Let's just see if we know. So here's what students think we do. They think we're magic, which is a little bit of a compliment, actually. So they think they're going to come in and they're going to tell us what the problem is. We're going to pull out life's big book of answers. We're going to flip to the table of contents. We're just going to find what it is. And then we're going to say, oh, here it is on page 47. This is the answer. And if that doesn't work, we're just going to pull out our magic wand. And, you know, the wand chooses the counselor, after all. We're going to wave it, right? And we're going to fix it. That's what students think we do. Here is what parents want us to do. They want us to pick up the helicopter duty, right? They've been doing it for 18 years. It's your turn. Make sure Billy's getting up. Make sure he's going to class, right? Yeah, we're not doing that, guys. And this is what everyone else thinks we do. So someone lays on our couch, show them some Rorschach cards, talk about your mother. The money comes pouring in. That's how it works. It's real easy, right? Now, you may have gathered this already, but that's not what we do. We don't do any of that. So now I'm going to pass it to Terry, who's going to give you a little picture of what we actually do. All right, I haven't worked on it in a while.
All right, so they gave me the boring stuff. This is actually the definition of psychotherapeutic counseling, which is what we do. And it's a learning process within a specialized therapeutic environment that increases the opportunity for personal growth and change while providing for emotional safety. The goal is the empowerment of the client to achieve and maintain congruence and balance within and among the dimensions of his or her life. Okay, so that's totally complicated, so let me just put it in real speak for you. I often tell students when they come in the office, this is what I believe the purpose of counseling is. Students come in a crisis state. Now, very few students, sometimes psych students will come in a non-crisis state and just ask to lay on the couch. But most students come in an emotional crisis. They're emotionally overwhelmed. And what I explain to them is the goal of counseling is to figure out what you want, figure out how to get it in an appropriate way, and figure out kind of what's blocking that process. So where to go, what's blocking, how to get there, and how to understand their emotions. Because our emotions actually tell us what to do. And often in our world, what we try to do is block out all emotions so we don't feel them. And then we don't know what the answer is. But mostly what we do is encourage students to tap into their own inner wisdom because they already know the answers. Now, the hazard we have in counseling is that everybody thinks they can be a counselor. Right? We hear this all the time. I'm a people person. All my friends come to me with their problems. So I feel like I'm a really good counselor. But in actuality, this is really a complicated profession to get into. And the process of becoming a counselor is not quite as easy as one might think. Trust me, I have no idea how difficult it would be. But you have to get educated, you have to get training, and you have to get licensed. And so our process is we need a master's degree from a KCREP accredited program, primarily counseling or applied psychology. All of us who are counselors have at least 300 hours of supervised practicum, internship, and then for anyone after September 30th, 2018, they're going to need 600 hours. What that means is that they get supervised by a licensed professional, and we listen to their tapes and make them really uncomfortable and help them figure out how to get good at this thing. They have to pass the National Counselor exam. And a lot of people don't know that. It took a lot of studying, and you had to pay a lot for the website to help you study. You complete 3 years post-master's. So once you complete the exam and get your degree, you're considered a licensed associate professional counselor, which means you're not quite ready, but we'll give you a low entry-level position and pay you almost nothing to get 3 years post-master's directed experience in clinical work. And then finally, after 3 years of working in the field under a supervisor, you can get your full license. But it doesn't stop there. Every 2 years, you need to get 35 hours of continuing education units. And they have to be approved. So it's actually a really complicated procedure. And often what I'll tell students is, you know, if you decide to be a counselor for your friend, it's a lot like trying to sew on their finger if they cut off their finger, right? Like, and I say, if your friend came to you and they chopped off their finger, would you try to sew it on because you saw Grey's Anatomy? Right? No, you would call 911 and you would get a professional to do it. And the same is true with counseling. The reason it takes so long is it's a very specialized process, and it's not anything like it seems it will be. It's a lot harder, but very rewarding. So I'm going to pass it to Lisa, who's going to take over from here.
Okay, so facts. We have 13 counselors on staff. It's pretty exciting. We just got our newest one with grant position with our friends in health services. We have supervisors on staff. We also have a counseling training program, which some people in this room went through. So we usually have 6 to 8 counselors in training in our center at any time. Usually they're master's level. Occasionally we'll have doc students, postdoc. We've done previously as well. We have 2 psychiatrists. That's new this year. Thank you. Much for that. They're here on Thursdays. Don't send all your students over to them just yet, if you would, please. So we're pretty excited. 170 clinical years of experience in our staff, so we think that's pretty cool. I have about a third of those. Nice. Here we offer individual counseling. We have group counseling. Group counseling is one of those things that people don't think is that great until they do it. And y'all, it's so great. It's particularly really great for college students, because college students are really about relationships and their peers and all of that. So group counseling can work really, really well with them. We run about 6 or 7 groups every semester, and we're always trying to grow that program. It was big in the 60s. If you ever saw Bob and Harper's, none of you did, because you're all a lot younger than me. But if you ever saw that, that was a weird, kind of funny group therapy. We do online counseling for students that are not on our campus, and we work with our online partners to do that. We have substance abuse counseling that's certified by the state, which is a big deal. Like if a student gets a DUI or a CUA or something like that, we can work with them and help them work through that process. As you all know, we have the walk-in and crisis counseling between 8 and 5, and then we have after-hours counselors as well. So we always have somebody on call that can come out and talk with a student and assess the situation and help the student get to safety. I already told you about psychiatry, which is my personal favorite right now. And we have accessibility services, which Maggie's going to talk about in just a second. Here's what we see. We pull these numbers all the time. The number one presenting concern in our center is anxiety. That's also true across the U.S. So that's the number one thing that we're seeing. Number 2 is depression and suicidality. So we see those 2 things a great deal. And then these other things as well. This is the one people think that we do a lot, is adjustment to college. And we do still see students we're just trying to adjust that first semester. But in the 20 years that I've been doing this has really changed a lot. We went from like, I'm homesick and I don't know what I want to do with my life, to this, trauma, PTSD. So it's required a lot of changes in the way that we deliver services, and also when I first came into this, we did not necessarily even require people to be licensed counselors. They had a counseling degree, but didn't have to be licensed. Maggie.
accessibility services. If a student from high school comes in and they've had a 504 or an IEP in high school, which means they received accommodations, typically in the summer prior to them coming, well, hopefully prior to them starting at the university, we would see them in our office. And what we would do is an intake with them and then a specialized accommodation, a student accommodation report, which they can give to their professors and get accommodations while they're in college. Sometimes we see students their second or third year, and currently we're seeing students right now before the push finals. But some of the things that we see are ADHD, learning disorders, psychological disorders, mobility, autism, injured athletes, hearing impairment, and acquired brain injury.
Okay, Farmstead. So this year so far, this was actually last month, but this is what we've seen. So we've had, this is I think usually the one that is upsetting for people. We've had 29 students go to the hospital for psychiatric reasons this year. That's actually down by almost 20 students this year, so we're pretty excited about that. And I think that's because we have psychiatry on campus now. Thank you. Did I say thank you? So we're pretty excited about that. 86% of the students that come to CSCs for 10 sessions or less, they have a problem. They need help solving it. We do that fairly short term, work with them to kind of work through that issue. About 14% of the students we see are seeing for longer than that. Usually those students have a pretty complex trauma history or diagnosis and that kind of thing, so they need to be seen ongoing throughout the year. And then we have 75 students who are seeing all the time, basically, every week. For basically the whole time that they're here, and that's okay. I'm really glad we're able to do that split model. A lot of schools aren't able to do that. They only do short-term counseling. I'm really proud that we're able to kind of manage it in a way where we're able to do this for students. Partially we do that because we're located. We don't have a lot of resources outside of the university. We have the resources we have are really good, but we don't have a lot of resources to send students to if they're not here. This is what a typical counseling schedule looks like. Just like you guys might want to see that. This is why when you ask us to come to a program in 2 hours from now, we have to always go, oh my gosh, I really wish I could. But this is actually someone's schedule. And then you also know we do outreach on campus because we get to work with you guys and do that. It's like the coolest part of our job, in my opinion. We work on committees. We collaborate a lot with faculty and staff and parents to help them consult about what's going on with students. We get a lot of reports from our faculty and staff and work with them a lot on that. And then we're working on continuing education. I don't know if you guys heard this. Maybe you've been living under a rock, but we got accreditation this year from IACS. That's a really cool thing. About 40 schools in the country are accredited, and we're one of them, and we're very excited about that. Here's how you can get students help. You can call us. If you've ever called our center, you know that Joe and Mary Beth are phenomenal. They just find that way and help you out. You can walk a student over between 8 and 5. We will not turn them away. We will not be too busy. They may have to wait, but we will not turn them away. And then if you have concern about a student, you know about UWG Cares, yeah? Everybody should be doing that. Yeah, okay. And, follow us. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest. Thank you so much.
Thank y'all so much. Yeah, you guys don't have to hang out unless you want to up here. All right. And in the meantime, Vicki Harden is going to come up here. We already have a video ready for them. If y'all remember, they had their spotlight already, but due to the typical technical malfunctions, they weren't able to show the video that their graduate student Andrew worked super duper hard on. So we wanted to give them just literally a few minutes, and then we'll continue with the program for today. So slowly but surely, without further, yeah. Oh, isn't it cute? All right, so I'm passing off to Vicki. Oh, great. Okay, well, in that case, there you go, right there. Look at that little guy. So without further ado,
the time getting an interview. Are you not getting a call back?
Why can't I find a job?
Is your major bland? Is your resume or cover letter boring? Do your interviews leave people snoring? Career Services can lend a hand. We will make your cover letter fire. Your interviews will leave people shook. Mom! We can help you find that perfect career and major that suits you. Speaking of suits, we can help you get ready for your next interview. Don't know what to wear? We've all been there. This is a perfect excuse to comb your hair. Career Services. This is the place for you. This offer isn't going away anytime soon, but you are. Before you graduate, don't wait. Stop by or visit our website today.
We are located on the 3rd floor of the West Wing of Ralph Hall. Walk-in hours are Monday through Thursday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Appointments are required outside of walk-in hours. We will give you all the tools necessary to get a job, but we will not give you that job. We are not a private university building. We are here to serve our students. For questions or inquiries, call 678-839-6431 today. Must be a student at the University of West Georgia to utilize these services. Our services might cause engagement, empowerment, and employment. Please consult with your career services liaison before partaking in our services. Please note our services do not guarantee job placement.
Make an appointment today.
Awesome. Thank you, Vicki, and her services for, and specifically Aegis for that together. I'm glad we got to enjoy that. So I'm passed off to Will to introduce our speaker for today.
Good morning, everybody. Today we have a very exciting speaker for you. He goes by the name of Dr. Joey Smith. Joey graduated from West Georgia College with degrees in economics and philosophy. Joey received his master's and PhD in economics from Georgia State University, where his research focused on urban and regional economic development and taxation. Before coming back to West Georgia, Joey worked for the Fiscal Research Center, who works directly with the state legislator, evaluating the economic impacts of legislation and examining factors affecting the state economy. Joey returned to UWG in 2006 to teach and start the Center for Business and Economic Research, a center that provides economic research on issues facing our region, and he currently serves as the chair of the economics department in the College of Business. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Dr. Joey Smith.
Thank you. I know earlier somebody said they got the boring stuff, but this is economics, and so I plan on putting pretty much everybody to sleep here. So I hope you brought your coffee. If I see a head or two go down, or indeed if I see this half the room's head go down, it could probably be pretty much like a classroom activity. Don't worry, I won't be offended. So, like I say, I love the smell of economics in the morning. Anybody who's willing to take on this first thing in the morning, you're an adventurous group. Usually when you have an 8 o'clock class or an 8:30 class in economics, you get about half the attendance that you would get, that half the class attends. So the fact that I see all the tables full here is a very, very good sign. Okay, so one of the things that I was asked to talk about was the impact that West Georgia has on the local and the state economy. And we don't produce this report, but this is a report that comes out every year. And one of the things that I want you to remember is that you have an enormous part of the impact that goes on here at West Georgia. Teaching students is what we do, but in order to teach the students, there's a whole bunch of activities that have to go on in the background to make sure that those students get here, they go to class, they're healthy while they're here, they have good attitudes, that they get through the program and they finish and they get out and get a job. And I have to tell you, one of the things I have to give a big shout out to is the services that are provided for job placement. I got my first job out of West Georgia because of job placement in career services here. Back when a fellow named Bruce Lyons? Bruce Brewer was here. Bruce got me my first job while I was at school here. It was almost my first day at school here. So just to let you know a little bit of background that's not in my introduction. I used to be one of the bus drivers here on campus. My first job on campus was being one of the first bus drivers that drove a bus here during the day. I also worked on campus as an administrative assistant for the honors program. Back then they just called them student assistants. I worked as a parking lot painter. I worked as pretty much anything. If there was a shovel that needed to be worked, I worked shovels. A lot of your students here, they're doing pretty much anything that they can get through the program. And so when you're giving them that opportunity, you're really helping them, you're helping yourselves, and you're helping the community. And so we're gonna get into the show here. So I just wanted to give y'all a pat on the back and encourage you to give yourself a pat on the back, because you do a tremendous job here, and it's truly appreciated by the faculty, and by the other staff on campus, and by the community. So measuring the economic impacts. One of the things that they talk about every year is how much economic impact do you bring into the community. We measure these in a few different ways. They always talk about the total impact, but generally they break it up into three components. The direct impact, which is the result of expenditures that we make here on campus. So when we buy things, when we employ people, all of those things are part of that direct impact. There's the indirect impact. That comes from things like purchasing supplies from outside vendors. We just recently moved over to Dine West from Aramark, and when we moved to Dine West, one of the things that happened is we started buying more of our supplies locally. And by buying those supplies locally, we're increasing the impact that we have in our local area, in our community, in West Georgia. And we also talk about the induced effects. And these are the secondary effects that you yourself have. When you earn a paycheck and you go out and you purchase groceries in the community, or you go out and you're entertaining the community, you go out and you have a beer downtown on the square, which I'm sure none of you do. We're all Baptists here, right? Nobody has beer. We don't recognize each other when we do, by the way. And so the whole idea here is that you're spending that money back into the community. I'm one too, so I won't recognize you, I promise. If you see me, you just have to look the other way and keep right walking. Okay, so these are the way we measure the impacts. Here's how big the impact is of the university system in Georgia. $16.8 billion is what was measured as the impact of education, higher level education in the state of Georgia in colleges and universities. $16.8 billion. We don't raise that much money in the income tax in Georgia every year. Okay, our income tax is about 2/3 of this. The total amount of taxes that the state of Georgia raises every year is only slightly above $20 billion. This is how much we generate in the university system. About 2/3 of that impact comes from spending that the university system does. The other third comes from that multiplier effect from those other secondary effects, the indirect and the induced. Those things that are coming from activities that are not directly associated with the university. These are things that wouldn't happen if we weren't here. West Georgia, we contribute about $564 million to our economy. And it's probably closer to $600 million this year, or over the next couple of years. It'll be about $600 million when they measure 2018, 2019, 2020. $600 million. And the vast majority of that is right in the 6-county area around us: Carroll, Coweta, Douglas, Paulding, Harrelson, and Polk. And a little bit further south, go to Detroit and places like that. Most of that happens right here. And so when you're helping students, when you're assisting students getting here and getting through the program, this is the impact that you're having on the community. The university, we only physically spend, I know that sounds only when you're talking about millions of dollars, but we only spend about $348 million. About 62% of the total impact came from us. The rest of it came from everything else that happened around us. Okay, and part of this $348 million, part of that comes from students spending money in the community. Okay, so when students spend money, that helps the community as well. And so by attracting more students to our area, we are making our community better. And I know we've heard complaints in the paper, we've occasionally heard about bad things that have happened in the area, but the thing is, the good greatly outweighs any of the bad that can happen or that has happened around our community. And so focus on that aspect. We are probably, if not one of the greatest impacts, greatest business impacts that are occurring in the West Georgia region. Okay, there's not many out there that are doing more than we are. Okay, so who's at the center of these impacts? Well, it's us, but primarily it's our students. Our students, for every student we bring here, we're contributing about 1/6 of a job to our community. So that means for every 6 students, that's one whole job. When we're talking about student spending, our student spending created 2,356 jobs in 2016. There's not many plants, there's not many facilities in our 5-county or 6-county area that has that many jobs. And so our students alone are generating as much as one of the biggest industries in our region, just the spending of our students. Now that's distributed across a bunch of different employment levels. You might be talking about things like restaurants, which a restaurant may have 30 to 50 employees depending on shifts. There's a lot of different ways that can be spread around. So it's not just one business, but that's also important because in having this vast array of different businesses, what we're doing is we're increasing the stability of our local economy. It's not all in one business. So if that one industry becomes beset by a recession, it's not going to have that big of a detrimental impact on us. And so there's stability in being able to spread this over multiple areas. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit more. I know that I've gotten everybody in a real serious mood, right? I can see that everybody's kind of staring at you. It might be you're serious. It could be you're thinking about what you've got to do for today. It could be you're completely zoned out. You're already asleep, but you can do it with your eyes open. I'm not sure. But anyway, we're going to talk a little bit about what goes on in West Georgia. Economists, what we do is we try to, in many cases, predict what's going to happen in the future. Okay, and so most economists do some sort of forecasting activities. We do it at West Georgia for the West Georgia region. We let other economists do it for the national economy because there's a lot of folks out there that are wanting to do that. There's only a few that want to focus on West Georgia. And so when we're looking at things that are helping us to predict the future, one of the things we look at is unemployment insurance claims. These are claims that people make for unemployment insurance payments, your unemployment check. And when those unemployment claims are rising, that's a bad sign. Well, one of the things that you can see here, I'm going to hit the right one. Oh, you can't see it on the screen. Okay, I'm going to use my other pointer. You can see that it's going, that's right. I'm not going to touch it, I'm not going to walk off the back of the stage. Neither one of those things are going to happen. I might fall off the front of the stage, but I guarantee you it will be purposeful. It's a little stage dive going on. Okay, so you can see it's been going down for quite a while. This is 2009. The peak was about June of 2009. Unemployment insurance claims have been going down pretty much every month since June 2009. It's gotten peaky there, so we've had some bounces back. But generally, the trend has been in the downward direction. We have started to flatten out a little bit. However, one thing I will say, there's a bottom to this. There's a point below which we are not going to go. And so we are getting close to that. We are below where we were prior to the recession, prior to the starting of the recession. And so we're doing better now than we were doing, from this standpoint, we're doing better now than we were prior to the start of the last recession. A lot better. Other things that people like to talk about are unemployment rates. These are things that are happening right now. Okay, so it's not an indication of the future, it's an indication of now. Unemployment rates are now at, I won't say a record low, but they're at a very low point. We're right now in the region hovering around 4.6%. It's bouncing up and down. There's a little bit of movement that's happening. But 4 to 6% unemployment is what we usually look at as being the natural rate of unemployment. That's where people are moving between one job and another. They've decided that this job doesn't fit me very well. I'm going to try to do a job search. I may stop working here and start working there, and there may be a gap in between those two. And so that's generally called frictional unemployment. There's frictional unemployment right now. People are moving between jobs, but it's primarily so they can go from a job that they're not as well suited to a job that they're better suited to. And that's usually for higher pay and a job that uses more of their skills. We can look at things like unemployment rates in the different counties. Carroll County right now, this is March 2018, We're right now sitting at around 4.6%, which is very good by historical standards. I'll make a better door than a window, right? It's very good by historical standards. We are not the best in our region, but part of that reason is because we do have a university in our area, and people at the university are applying for jobs, and so our unemployment's naturally going to be a little higher than some of these other counties. But look at Coweta and Collin. Coweta's got a little bit of ours, right? That's where the Newman Center is. Coweta's unemployment rate right now is 3.8%. Remember, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, we were hovering around 13% across the region. We're doing a lot better now. And so for anybody, any of you out there that think the economy is still as bad as it was, or we're still in a recession, we haven't been in a recession now for almost 10 years. It just feels, it was so bad, it feels like it was recent. Okay, this is like when your parents gave you that really bad punishment, you remember it for a long time. Okay? I know that because my parents were among those that gave out really bad, and when I mean bad, I mean good punishment. You remember. Okay, I'm going to quickly go through this right here. Unemployment rates and labor force. When we look at these two together, it gives us an idea about the direction the economy is going in a better way than just looking at them individually. When we have a rising labor force, when we're putting more new people into the labor force, and the unemployment rate is rising, that's not necessarily a bad sign, but it's also not a great sign. It means that we're putting people in, we're not putting those people to work. They're entering the labor force, and they're effectively still going to the unemployment office and looking through their Rolodex. I know they don't use Rolodex anymore, but their job list to try to find a job. They haven't found one yet. But when unemployment rates are going down, which is the red line, and the labor force is going up, that means we're employing people faster than they're entering the labor force. This is West Georgia. We're doing really well. Here's Carrollton, Carroll County. Coweta is still doing okay. It's just that they've got a relatively large labor force. Douglas County, Harrelson, and usually I'm from Harrelson. We usually get, I don't live there now, but we usually get a bad rap in Harrelson County because oftentimes they are considered the area where it's hardest to find employment because there's fewer large industries. There's fewer jobs in Harrelson County. They are doing okay now. Polk right now is probably the county that is not progressing as fast as the rest of the region. And it's primarily because they're simply not adding a lot of new people to their labor force. They don't have a lot of people who are moving to Polk County. Okay? You take West Georgia, University of West Georgia out of Carroll County, and we would look a lot more like Polk County. Okay, so historically, we've generated about 2 to 3% additional jobs each year. That's changed since the recession. Since the recession, we've averaged somewhere around 2 to 2.25%. So our job production has gone down a little bit, but since the recession, it's remained very steady. Okay, so you see out here to the right, we're projecting somewhere between 2 to 2.4% over the next year or so. We did get some additional tax cuts this past year, and that's probably going to increase that projection a little bit for our area. But basically, we're looking at a little above 2%. That's not rapid job growth, but that's very respectable job growth, especially if you can hold on to that for several years in a row. So we're still doing well, even in terms of job growth. And so one of the things I like to point out is that everybody thinks that we should grow like a rabbit, right? You want it to happen fast, fast, fast. But the truth is, it may be better to be a very healthy turtle than a sickly rabbit. And so that's the way I view this economy, is that right now we're a very healthy turtle. We're moving along. We're not beating anybody to the finish line, but there is no finish line when it comes to this kind of activity. We're just going to go and go and go. Areas where we have suffered a little bit, I'm not going to go through every detail here, but areas where we have suffered in the past, we're starting to recover. One area that we've been doing very poorly in over the past decade has been in government jobs. And government jobs is a mainstay of our area. Things like local education, K through 12, pre-K through 12, and us. And so over the past decade, we've had a hard time growing these local government jobs. You can see Carroll County now is growing government jobs at a rate of about 3.04%. That's primarily K through 12 education. It's replacing teachers that weren't replaced during the recession and the fact that, I know you've heard this before, we haven't been fully funded on our enrollment formula for a while now, and that means that we don't have as many jobs here as we probably would have if we were. And so there's areas where we're starting to recover in this industry, and we're in an industry. If you look at the different counties, Carroll County is doing quite well right now. We've seen about 3% job growth in our county alone. Right now, we lead the pack. We're growing faster. Carroll County is growing faster than the other counties, but that hasn't always been true. Coweta and Paulding County has been among the top growers for the past 3 or 4 years. Carroll is up there sometimes and then it falls back out. So our growth is not quite as consistent as some of these others. Where have we been growing employment? We've been growing a lot in services. What you may know is the service sector is gradually taking over all the jobs in our area. In fact, it's happening all over the United States. It's not really unique to here. Service jobs are growing faster than manufacturing jobs or than goods producing jobs. And so a lot of the things that we do here, in fact, I should say, everybody in this audience is a service provider. So you're classified as services in your occupation. It's just that we're government in our industry. We're not service industry, we're government. If we were doing this for the private sector, every one of us would be in the service sector. Okay, so it shouldn't be alarming that we're moving from manufacturing to services. The nice thing is that we're not moving from manufacturing, which is relatively high paid, to low paid service jobs like retail. We're moving into higher paid service jobs like retail jobs are not going up. Generally, retail jobs are viewed as a job for teenagers. So it's a low skill profession, it's low pay, oftentimes it's part-time and it doesn't carry employment benefits. Okay, and so it should be alarming that retail isn't going up, but one of the things that's interesting about retail is why it's not going up. One of the reasons it's not going up, and this is just another indication here, retail jobs actually fell by 700 jobs when the rest of employment in West Georgia was moving up. And a lot of this has to do with the fact that we've got, even here in Carroll County, the influence of online retail. We're losing brick and mortar retail jobs to online retailers. How many in here buy things from, I probably shouldn't even ask this, this is not even a fair question. How many of you buy things online? Raise your hand. Okay, put your hands down. How many of you don't? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Everybody in here buys online now. You can shop with many things easier online. Even all of our purchases on campus go through ePro now, which is an online vendor aggregation site. And so every one of you, if you use any of our services here on campus for purchasing, you've gone through an online system. And so we are gradually, maybe rapidly, moving to a situation where brick and mortar retail is probably going to be a minority. It's going to be primarily people being able to shop online, especially if Amazon comes to Georgia, which, who knows? If I could tell you that, if I could make that announcement today, wouldn't that be good? But I'm not making that announcement. I'm just here to tell you, I don't know. I'm going to predict it's coming to Carroll County and it's coming to this campus right here. They're taking over the bookstore. I'm going to back up and say that's a total lie. I have no idea. Little Monty will tell you that I will lie to you in class just to see what happens. I like to see the reaction to what. But that's the case. changing, and one of the things that we have to go with is this changing flow of retail from brick and mortar to other types. Okay, I'm going to quickly move through here. Healthcare is an area where not only do we have a stake in it, but it is an area that is still rapidly growing, and it's not likely to slow down, at least for the next 20 years. And the reason for that is I'm getting older and fatter and slower and more unhealthy every day. And so I can imagine at some point I'm probably going to be making both payments for every doctor in town. And a lot of other people here are at least having a few of those problems themselves. So healthcare is not an industry that's likely to turn around and go negative anytime soon. Manufacturing is flat. We're not seeing a lot of additional manufacturing jobs. A lot of the jobs that were predicted in the past happened in the past, but they haven't really added any more than that. One area that we are susceptible, and I'm going to finish off on this right here and then open up for any questions if you have any, but one area that we're a little bit vulnerable in is in auto manufacturing. What happened over the recession is automotive manufacturing, the value of car sales dropped like a rock. But at the end of the recession, 2009, 2010, a lot of auto manufacturers started putting incentives out there, and it really changed people's minds. People started buying cars like crazy. So from here all the way up to current time period represents a pretty rapid growth in the value of auto purchases. The problem is that long red line that you see running through that data is the long-term trend of auto purchasing. Right now, we're running at well above the trend, the long-term trend. And I don't know about you, I personally have too many vehicles. Mine are all old, but I've got too many vehicles. How many can you drive? The point is, there's only so many. The market is going to get satiated here. Everybody's going to have a reasonably new car, and it's going to start to turn back toward that red line soon. And one of the issues that makes us vulnerable is that we have industry here in our area that are focused on the automotive sector. Dytek, Magna, Kia, lots of manufacturers here make stuff for the automotive sector. And so this is a little bit of as an economist, I'm supposed to take any happy moment and turn it into something for concern. Okay, so all I'm supposed to do is take, if you're a happy crowd, I'm supposed to bring you down just a little bit. They call it the dismal signs. Here's why. We're turning back toward the trend now. Now, the hope is that we're going to do this slowly. That it's going to slowly go back toward the trend over several years as people slow down their car purchases. Our sincere hope is that over the next year or so, it doesn't completely stop and we drop down to, instead of being above that red line, that we're somewhere below the red line. Okay, that it doesn't make this quick wave and turn into an automotive generated recession. I know I'm not supposed to say the word recession until after it hits, but I just want to put that out there to bring you back down to earth on this one. Okay. But anyway, you have to talk about some of the potential problems that are out there. But with that, I'll open up any questions, and when Will Lonnie stands up, I have to walk off stage. So y'all can tell Will Lonnie to go ahead and stand up if you like.
How would you compare the impact of Southwire to the impact of University?
One of the problems you have with trying to measure the impact of Southwire is they're a private company and they don't put out employment information, they don't put out annual reports or anything like that. But one of the things I would say is that Southwire is a big employer. I think they employ in our county somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,500 to 3,000 people. So it's comparable. We are comparable in size. We don't manufacture things, and one of the big advantages manufacturing has in terms of impact is that they have to build lots of facilities, and when they sell something, they're bringing dollars into the area. And so I would say that we are comparable in size. We are probably not quite as big as Southwire in terms of impact, in terms of dollar amount. They're probably at a minimum 2 to 3 times our size, just simply because of the industry that they're in and their size. They're bigger than us. West Georgia, I think right now employs somewhere in the 1,600 range.
17 to 1,800.
Okay, so We're probably about half their size, approximately, and if you were to double our size, we'd still be about 80–85% of their productive capacity in terms of income generation. So that's about it. Long answer to, we're not there yet. Yes, sir.
I'm always interested in not so much quantity of jobs, quality of jobs, in terms of salary and benefits and all that. So can you speak a little bit to that part of it?
One of the things that I would say is a big positive that's happening right now is the movement from jobs that are affiliated with retail to jobs that are associated with healthcare generally is moving those jobs from lower quality and higher quality jobs in our area. You see here, we just talked about counseling. Counseling services is a healthcare service. You would fall into the healthcare industry if you weren't a government employee. And so, generally speaking, even if you're talking about relatively low-skilled healthcare workers, they're typically paid more than the equivalent worker in other industries. And so, we are seeing higher quality jobs. But, like I say, I'm an economist. I have to back up and throw a little bit of a gloom onto it. We are coming out of a relatively deep recession, and so a lot of people lost a lot of income and a lot of higher quality jobs in manufacturing. So it takes time to recapture some of those and move back into a generally overall positive area. There's a lot of folks that were, Will Mine stood up. There's a lot of folks that lost high quality jobs in manufacturing and have never recovered those. And so that's still a little bit of a hardship for folks. And with that, Will Mine is pulling out his hook and pulling me off stage.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Joey. He does a economic forecast breakfast twice a year. You do it twice this year?
We do an update every quarter.
Okay. And it is just fascinating. It gives us an opportunity to kind of show off the University of West Georgia and all the great work he does. With that, since we need to get back to our offices, thank you very much. Appreciate your participation today. Let's give Joey one last round of applause.